Okay, think back to school for a sec. Beyond the homework and the bell ringing, what actually sticks with you?
Hmm.
Chances are it's the people, right? Those friendships, the ones
hmm
that, made your day, or let's be real, sometimes things got a bit awkward.
Oh, absolutely. And that's exactly what we're digging into today, isn't it? This uh, really powerful link between friendships and just our whole school experience.
Yeah.
We're going to explore how these bonds actually form, why they matter so much, and maybe revisit a few of those stories that just, well, they stick around.
Yeah.
Let's look back, yeah, but also trying to get why they have such a lasting effect.
Right. And for this deep dive, we're drawing from an episode of the English Speak podcast. It was called Friendships in School Life and featured Sarah and James. We've kind of gone through their chat to pull out the key stuff, the insights that really help us get a handle on these, formative relationships.
Yeah, our goal here is really to unpack how deeply these school friendships shape us, like who we become and just our general well-being. We want to shine a light on some maybe less obvious ways these connections mold us and definitely share some of those super relatable moments that I bet lots of you listening remember pretty clearly.
Okay, so let's jump in. Why are these school friendships so foundational? It's got to be more than just having someone to, like, swap lunch items with.
Oh, definitely. Sarah and James really hit on a core idea. School friendships give you this crucial sense of belonging, like a real support network, and an understanding you maybe don't find anywhere else, especially when you're navigating, well, being a teenager.
Uh-huh.
Think about it. Who else really understands how frustrating a bad grade feels when you actually studied?
Mm-hmm.
Or just trying to grasp some really tough concept? That shared struggle, it builds a unique kind of bond.
That is so true. I remember after every brutal English paper, my friends and I would just dissect it, half complaining, half laughing. It definitely took the edge off the stress.
Exactly. Friends are like your sounding board against all that academic pressure, the difficult teachers, the whole roller coaster of just growing up, really. James mentioned his friend Tom was brilliant at finding humor even on the worst school days. That shared viewpoint, that emotional backup, it can be incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
That friend who helped you puzzle through some impossible math problem, they weren't just helping with homework. They were like building your resilience without even knowing it, showing you how working together helps lessons that go way beyond school.
And is it fair to say school is almost like the boot camp for learning how to be a friend?
Absolutely. School just throws you into this constant social mix. You're always learning, how to handle different personalities, work through disagreements, figure out the give and take that makes relationships actually work. It's where you first start consciously building those really vital social skills.
There's this common idea, isn't there, that the friends you make at school often end up being friends for life. Is there something special about those early connections?
Well, there's definitely a strong case for it. Both Sarah and James talk about how important those shared formative experiences are. I mean, think about it. Getting through those awkward teen years together, creating inside jokes that become like this secret language only your group gets,
Yeah.
the collective panic before big exams, those kinds of shared moments can forge these incredibly strong, really lasting bonds. Those inside jokes, like you said, they're like a secret code, right? Forged in the fires of adolescence. It's powerful glue.
It really is. I'm still super close with my best friend from middle school. We live in different countries now, but when we talk, it's like zero time has passed. Those shared memories just create this unbreakable link.
Precisely. Those intense shared experiences during such a key developmental time, they often create a connection that's just uniquely tough.
So, how do these friendships actually kick off? You walk into a classroom, it's full of strangers. What sparks that initial connection?
Well, Sarah told this really sweet story about her very first school friend back in first grade. It started with something so simple. A classmate, Priya, just offered her half her sandwich. Sarah had just moved, felt a bit lost at lunchtime.
Ah.
Yeah, it just shows how these small acts of kindness, these little reaches out, can be the start of something really significant.
That's such a lovely example. It really highlights how maybe being a bit vulnerable and someone else being kind can spark something real. James's story is definitely on the funnier side, becoming best mates with Tom because they both showed up in the wrong school uniform.
It is, and it shows perfectly how these unexpected shared moments, even the slightly embarrassing ones, can be surprisingly good starting points for friendship. It's often those unplanned, kind of quirky things that lead to the strongest connections.
I love that. It really is often those unplanned, seemingly small things. And of course, just having stuff in common helps a lot, right? Whether
Huh.
it's loving the same sport or band or even just reading the same kinds of books.
Oh, absolutely. That common ground shared interests, sometimes even shared difficulties, gives you an instant connection point. And like James pointed out, so many school friendships just happen organically because you're near each other. Sitting together in class, working on a group project, just seeing the same people day in, day out in the halls.
But it's not always plain sailing, is it? School friendships definitely have their ups and downs.
That's a really important point to make. As Sarah and James talked about, conflicts, misunderstandings, even stuff that feels like major heartbreak at the time, it's all part of the deal with school friendships. These are often our first experiences navigating those kinds of tricky situations outside our family.
James shared that really relatable memory, didn't he? His middle school group kind of fell apart for a bit because of some rumor. Ugh, middle
Sure.
school drama.
Right.
But they managed to patch things up later in art class, I think.
Yeah. And while that was probably tough then, that experience really shows how you start developing those crucial conflict resolution skills. Learning how to say sorry, how to actually forgive someone, how to compromise after a fight. Those are huge life lessons, and you often learn them first with your school friends.
It's also important to remember that, well, people change. As we grow up, some friendships just naturally evolve or drift apart.
Exactly. Sarah mentioned that, sometimes your interests just head in different directions, your life paths diverge. It doesn't always mean there was a big fight or anything, but maybe that shared foundation isn't quite as solid as it once was. It's a totally normal part of life, that natural flow of relationships.
But even the friendships that maybe fade over time, they still leave a mark, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The memories you made, the things you went through together, the stuff you learned about yourself and other people, it all feeds into the person you eventually become.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about some of the funnier moments. Sarah had a pretty unforgettable story involving a solo performance.
She did. Getting dared by her friends to sing in front of the whole 8th grade class because the teacher was late.
Oh my gosh.
And then the teacher walks in right in the middle of it. That mix of like peak teenage embarrassment and the teacher actually being surprisingly cool about it, that definitely makes for a story you won't forget.
I can just picture it. And James's story about trying to bake a cake, was it, in the school science lab with his friends? Sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
Total disaster. Smoke alarms, detention, the whole 9 yards. But like you said, the shared laughter afterwards, the sheer silliness of it all, kind of made it worth it. It's often those little, maybe slightly naughty shared moments that we remember so clearly years down the line.
It's so true. It's not always the big academic stuff or the official milestones. It's often those small, shared bits of silliness and connection that really stick out and make you smile when you think back on school.
And these friendships, they're not just about having fun, are they? They actually play a really big role in our personal growth. They can push us in good ways, help us find out new things about ourselves.
Definitely. Like friends can nudge you out of your comfort zone sometimes, right? In ways you might not push yourself. James talked about his friends convincing him to join the drama club,
Yeah.
which ended up helping him get over being shy.
That's such a great example of how friends can give you that little push, that bit of encouragement and support you need to try something new or tackle something you're anxious about. And Sarah's experience, too, with her friends helping her see failure differently, helping her understand that making mistakes is just part of learning, not something to be terrified of. That's huge.
It's almost like friends help build your emotional armor, your resilience.
Precisely. And beyond that, as James and Sarah brought up, friendships are where you really learn core values like honesty, loyalty, empathy, in practice. It's not just reading about them. You're living them, learning them through how you treat each other and how they treat you.
And those kinds of lessons, they definitely stick with you long after you've tossed your graduation cap.
Absolutely. The sort of social and emotional smarts you pick up navigating the world of school friendships. It has a huge lasting impact on your life and pretty much all your relationships going forward.
Now, things look a bit different for kids in school today with all the tech. How has the digital age kind of reshaped these friendships?
That's a really important shift to think about. Like Sarah and James discussed, technology has really changed the game and how students connect. Going from, passing actual folded notes in class to instant messages pinging all evening. It's a totally different landscape.
Yeah, and it's got its good and bad sides, doesn't it? I mean, it's way easier to stay in touch now. Group chats, sharing memes. That's a massive part of how friends interact, even when they're not physically hanging out.
True. The ease of keeping that connection going and sharing little bits of your day is definitely a plus. But as Sarah pointed out, there's also more room for misunderstandings, right? Tone gets lost in text.
Totally.
And there's the real risk of, screen time just eating into that essential face-to-face time.
It really underlines how important finding a balance is. Tech can be an amazing tool for friendship, but it probably shouldn't replace actually being together in person.
Exactly. That shared physical space, the spontaneous laughter, the feeling of real support when someone's right there next to you, those things are still absolutely fundamental for building and keeping strong, genuine friendships.
We actually asked our listeners to send in some of their own school friendship stories, and wow, we got some really moving ones.
We really did. Ananya's story meeting her best friend on the very first day of kindergarten, both of them crying for their moms,
Oh, bless.
and the teacher just gently took their hands and put them together. And now, all these years later, they're about to graduate side by side. I mean, it's just a beautiful picture of a bond that started in, like, shared tears and just lasted through everything.
And Carlos's story, too, breaking his leg in 10th grade. And his friends didn't just forget about him. They visited every single week and even made him this scrapbook with class notes and inside jokes so he wouldn't feel left out.
Yeah.
That's powerful. It shows that real empathy and support you get from true friends.
These stories really capture the essence of it, don't they? Just being there for each other, offering that support and company through the good times, sure, but especially through the tough stuff life inevitably throws at you.
So thinking practically, what are some things someone can actually do to be a good friend, especially during those school years?
Well, Sarah and James had some really solid advice on this. Basically, cultivating kindness, trying to be honest, offering genuine support, those are the basics. And James really stressed how important it is to actually listen. Like, not just hear the words, but pay attention to what's underneath, the feelings.
Being present is massive too, isn't it? Just showing up for your friends, whether it's helping with homework they're stuck on or cheering them on at a game or just sitting with them when they're having a hard time.
Absolutely. And Sarah brought up forgiveness, which is huge. Look, everyone messes up. Learning to let go of the small stuff, not holding grudges forever, that's vital if you want friendships to last.
And that idea of accepting your friends like for who they actually are, quirks and all, instead of trying to change them into who you think they should be. James mentioned that, and it's just so key for building real connection.
Yeah, ultimately, as Sarah sort of summed it up, true friendship is about that unconditional acceptance and support, really.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, it's just crystal clear that friendships are right there at the heart of the whole school experience. They shape us, they back us up, and they create these amazing lasting memories that become, well, part of our story.
Yeah, so for all of you listening, maybe take a second to think about the school friends you've had or the ones you have right now. Really appreciate those connections. Keep making memories, keep practicing kindness. You honestly never know how deeply these relationships can impact your life, sometimes for your whole life.
Even when life pulls us in totally different directions, which it often does, right? Those shared times, the things we learn from our school friends, they just become this permanent, really cherished part of who we are.
And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. Think about the subtle way, maybe ways you haven't even consciously noticed, that the lessons you learned from your school friendships, things like working through disagreements or offering support or just sharing a laugh, how those things might still be shaping your relationships and interactions today, even in areas you haven't really thought about.